Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Today I am doing a masterboard and drawing on my quilting background to do this, and doing one of the quilt blocks that I actually like to quilt with. So what I'm doing is I'm starting with a piece of 12 by 12. It's just the back of a piece of old 12 by 12 that I've had forever. And I'm using these papers which don't have anything on the back of them. So I'm going to make this and then I'll chop it up. But first of all, I've started with a square which is roughly in the centre of the paper. So you can see it's about 5 inches on either side. I've measured it up. Didn't have to do that, but just thought I'd take the time. And then the next thing with the quilt block, you put down some paper or fabric normally, but in this instance paper, and what you do is you put it down and then you measure it across the side of this. Now normally when you do this quilt block, the centre square of each block is either yellow or red. Yellow is for the heart of the home and red is for the, yellow is for the light of the home and red is for the heart of the home. But obviously I'm not doing that, I'm just doing scrapbooking papers. But I just thought I'd let you know that that's what you'd normally do. And then I'm just using the ruler to rip them off because they're, easy to rip with a ruler. This is actually a really quick quilt when you're making it because there's not a lot of measuring involved. I usually start with some strips of fabric. Normally there would be 2.5 inches, and then you just keep going around and round with whatever you've got. It's also a really good quilt to make if you have a lot of leftover little bits, because then you can do it with random fabric widths in strips, and that works quite well too. I think I need something different in there. Let's see what else I've got. Maybe this one, quite busy this one. Because I'm only using an 8 by 8, I'm just going to put another piece on the end of here from the same piece of paper. And I'm just going to have to do that now so that I can keep moving around. I'll use this one here this time. I've sorted the papers into strips of the same now, so that makes it a little bit easier to do this. And I'll just keep going until I've covered the whole 12 by 12, even though it's now gone outside the bounds of the 12 by 12. That'll be fine. I'm just seeing what I need here, possibly some of this map, so it's a bit different, and this one I'll put on the end here. We're almost at the end now, so I can just work out what the final thing is going to be. I might use these. And I've got enough just to finish this one up. There you go. I've got quite a nice piece there, and it's not quite as random in terms of the pattern. It's actually got quite a nice pattern because it's based on a quilt block. I'm going to use my big numbers today. These are Tim Holtz, Stampers Anonymous, called Numeric CMS 161, if you're wanting to know that information. And I will try some Distress Oxide in ground espresso and see what sort of thing that gives me. In fact, I'll just try it on a bit of offcut first. Sure it's not going to be too blodgy when I put it on. let's now put some down on the paper. And I will see where I want this to go. Actually, I might put the 3 in a couple of other places first, so I have some repetition before I do some of the other numbers. I think I've mentioned to you before that as humans we have trouble doing things in a random way. It's difficult for us to actually do that, so I'm trying hard not to put them in sort of a pattern. If you're looking for a number stamp, I'd highly recommend these. They are 3 inches tall, which makes them very large for a number stamp. And I really like the font that they're done in as well. And yes, they are a Tim Holtz stamp. Maybe that's why I like them as well. I'm not sure, but anyway, if you're looking for one, I do recommend these. They're really lovely. Just trying to see where I can put that other 7. Just depends, I guess, how crowded I want this to get. And don't forget that I will be chopping it apart as well, so I have to think about placement. You know, if I chop through a number, is it going to look odd? Okay. I'm just putting it back together for you so you can see what I've done. So I've cut it. Let me just get that down a bit so you can see it all. It's a little bit big for the screen, but that's okay. So I have cut it in different sizes. I've done this piece up here so I could use that as a side tuck in a journal. I've also done this piece for a similar reason, or you could stick it down and have it as a tuck. And then I've done one up here which is quite large. Then I've got another one here, big one there, and a little one down here. And I think that they look really good. If you just look at them individually now, you'll see that they're really, really effective. If you take all the others out of the picture, I think that that's quite effective to have something a bit different in your journal. I like that so much. I'm going to make a couple more. In fact, I've already done one with that remaining paper that I cut up into 2-inch strips. I didn't stamp this one just because I thought it might be something to have, you know, one unstamped, one stamped, and I've put them into a little sleeve so that they'll all stay together, and I know what I've done in there. This time these are all random in size. There's nothing that's a 1-inch square or a 2-inch strip or anything like that. I'm going to have a more random effect. You can already see this one's big, this one's little, but it's going to work the same way. I've also done this with my quilts. It's just a good method for using up scraps when you've got quilts and plenty of scraps left over. And I thought, why not bring it into the world of junk journaling? So I'll just check and see what size I want. Maybe this one here. But the concept's the same. You still take your strip, you match it up to the length of the previous one, and you put the next one down here. I'm just looking for some that will be long enough to go down here. Here's one here that'll fit. See, I think I'll do this side here. And then you trim it off or cut it off or tear it off, that's what I'm doing, to be level with the one below it. See, that will fit there. I'll put that on upside down, but I'm not going to worry about it because I'm sure there'll be a few that'll be, the writing will be up the wrong way, so it's not the end of the world. And then if I take these two, which are similar, they're from the same paper pad, and run them down here, it will work on that as well. In fact, I'm going to put the shorter one on first so I get some randomness the way these end. I don't want them all lined up on the one end. There's this one all cut up now, and I think what I'll have to do is, because some of this is a little fragile, I will put some double-sided tape across here because that will hold it, and then when I go to use it I can stick it down. So anything that's kind of got a, you know, an edge like that, I would recommend just putting a bit of tape on to hold it until you're ready to use it. Just to show you that it can work in any paper range, I've pulled out this pretty floral paper range that I've got. Now I know what happened before when it didn't end up in a square is because I didn't start with a square in the centre. So you'll need to start with a square in the centre. And I've got lots of thin pieces on this particular range for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I do. I really need to use these scraps up because I'm really fed up with, you know, having them in there, and I just want to get rid of them. I don't want to throw them out necessarily, but if it comes to that, I will. So, as you probably know from past experience, I'm not against chucking things in the bin if they no longer give me pleasure. But this range is really pretty, so I thought I would try and use it if I could. Just need to find a piece that's going to fit that tiny little bit I've got left there. That's in a similar paper. So I'm going to move on and get this finished. So here's these ones that I've finished now, and I've chopped them up, and I'll put them into my stash and they'll become something else in the future. And they look really pretty because I've used all those gorgeous papers that I had.